Monday, January the 15th, 2018, to you. Sadly, Irish singer-songwriter Mrs. Dolores O'Riordan died unexpectedly today at the Mayfair Hotel, London Hilton on Park Lane. She was 46 years old. Mrs. O'Riordan led the rock band The Cranberries for 13 years, making her one of the most remarkable figures in world's music scene during the 90s. Her high-pitched sounding voice was one of the trademarks of that decade. Certainly, songs like Linger or Zombie would not have sounded that good had they been sung by anyone else. I would like to take the occasion to briefly reflect on the 90s. First thought, it is impossible to understand that time without realizing how thrilling, epic the 80s was. Politically speaking, it marked the victory of democracy over communism, at least in the Western world. Sorry China. But in musical terms, thanks to the new media, pop singers could reach newer markets and be seen worldwide. Michael Jackson's Thriller album is still the best-selling one. For her part, Madonna's styles were followed by girls everywhere. But then, the Berlin Wall was finally turned down. The Cold War finally ended. The 90s had finally begun. And now what? It is amazing how intertwined technology and arts are. The 90s marked the onset of the web revolution. Internet enabled artists to be known everywhere. In the 80s, everyone was watching the same thing. In the 90s, everyone started to watch everyone. That was how the world knew of a strange style called grunge, born in the city of Seattle. That was how the world knew of an Irish band called the Cranberries. Suddenly, the word alternative stepped into the musical world, as opposed to the mainstream genres present in the previous decade. But with more alternatives, young people became more confused. The 90s was the decade of confusion and perplexity. Young fellows lacked of role models, including in music. As a result, a creative wave swept the musical world. As for the Cranberries, it is interesting to realize that that band's heyday coincided with the most successful time for Ireland in economic terms. Irish economy expanded at an average rate of 9.4% between 1995 and 2000. Still, it seems that such growth was way behind young people's expectations. Finally, the 19th generation has seen the loss of many of its musical icons. Soundtemple's Pilots, Mr. Scott Weiland, Soundgarden's Mr. Chris Cornell, and now Mrs. O'Riordan. Perhaps the same existential confusion made the Generation X a little bit fragile, but that is another story. Dolores, your voice will let you linger. The world is still on.